Everybody find a spot to lay down on the ground.
Your knees.
He's a serial texter. He's constantly texting these 16 to 17-year-old girls. It's really kind of creepy, someone said in an article.
Oh, what?
Dylan Sprouse and James Gunn call out him on Twitter. But I am assuming he has firsthand knowledge of something, of this going down, otherwise he wouldn't do it. But he even went as far as to tag him.
Yeah.
Yo, Jared Leto, now you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25. What would you say your success rate is? And then James Gunn responded, wait, he starts at 18 on the internet?
Hi. My name is Fubuki Shirakami. Nice to meet you.
Wow, it's so nice to meet you. You have a wonderful voice. I hope that you sing some music sometime too. You sound great. I love your character. Is so cute. And your outfit is great too. It almost looks like a Gucci outfit.
So I have this friend who's really into 30 Seconds to Mars, and he's loved them for about, I guess, like over 10 years. And he had this triangle tattoo of like little lines in it. And I always wondered what it was. And he used to tell me it was like some sort of thing to do with the 30 Seconds to Mars fandom. And little did I know, of course, back then that this fan base is actually extremely culty. And of course, the lead singer of 30 Seconds to Mars is Jared Leto. And I think his brother is the guitarist. Now, I only mentioned that today because we're going to be talking about a whole host of things to do with Jared Leto. And you guys know, I've cancelled so many people at this point. I've ruined so many careers. It was only a matter of time before my cancel Sauron's eye saw Jared Leto trying to escape from a cancelling. But you only have to read about his antics during the filming of Morbius to realise that he could not escape me for much longer. So what I want to talk about today is just Jared Leto's really bad behaviour as an actor. I want to talk about his cult and how he has positioned himself as like this cult leader. And while that's quite funny in some ways, there is a very serious side of his stuff because there are numerous allegations against Jared Leto from younger women, often teenagers. Now, of course, these are all just allegations. They haven't been fought in court. No one has proved anything. But when he has set himself up as this messiah figure and has all this stuff around him, it's really not a good look, especially because of what we know about the music industry in general. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will realize my set is completely different. Now, about 10k of you haven't actually seen me film a new video in this set, but for those of you who haven't, this is my traditional set. You may wonder, what is this behind me? Now, this is the chocolate orange pyramid. For every 5k, we get a new chocolate orange. Now, the problem being, I actually went out to try and find some chocolate oranges today, and I couldn't find any. But we actually need to add 2 more chocolate oranges to this pyramid. I will get on that this weekend. Sadly, we couldn't hit adding 3 new chocolate oranges while I was away. But weirdly, a lot of you have been commenting where are the chocolate oranges at the bottom of my more recent videos, not the ones like I made when I first moved to Spain for 3 months. So I hope you're now satisfied, and let's keep chugging along to 75k, get another chocolate orange, and hopefully this year we will hit my overall goal by New Year's Eve 2022 of hitting 100k subscribers on YouTube. Can we do it? I used to be really sure. Now I'm not so sure, but that is the goal for this year. Also, some more like housekeeping stuff. I've said this a lot, and a lot of you have actually said you have been unsubscribed from my channel. YouTube did like a bot purge over the last couple months. So if you are watching this from your recommended tab, please check that you're still subscribed to the channel, because some people have been telling me that they have been unsubscribed. Also, if you want to support my content and support this video, please like the video, maybe comment to help it in the algorithm. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. We're trying to build as many $1 to $3 patrons as possible, and the benefits of that are getting my Nintendo Switch friend code and access to the private patrons Discord server. Also, follow me on social media at the Kavernacle on Twitter and on Instagram. Check out our community on my subreddit, and also check out my second channel, the Kavernacle Extra, where I archive my live streams. Live streams will be returning this weekend and properly next week. So I was just talking to my girlfriend before I filmed this video, and I was saying, because of my friend having that tattoo, I always used to think that Jared Leto was one of those singers who often tried his hand at acting, and the only film I actually remember him being in growing up was Fight Club, where he gets beaten up really badly by the main character. But then I realised as I got older, he was actually an actor who became a very successful musician. Now, in terms of Jared Leto films I actually like, he's been in like great movies. I just don't know if I like him as an actor that much. So you guys will notice, he's got 2 Blade Runner 2049 posters up there. Jared Leto is actually on both of them. And he was like fine in that movie. When I went to see the movie again in the cinema about like 8 months ago to see a double bill of both Blade Runner films, these people in front of me kept nudging each other and like laughing. I mean, Jared Leto is eccentric, but the vibe I got from his character in Blade Runner 2049 was just very weird. Again, he was in Fight Club, great movie as well. He was in American Psycho, absolutely amazing movie, so quotable, especially the scene with him in where Patrick Bateman is talking about his love of Huey Lewis and the News. Again, great movie. And then of course he's actually won an Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club. So this guy is an accomplished actor, but he's also been memed really hard because he has bizarre performances in some things that are really terrible. And also he considers himself a method actor in that he really gets into these roles and actually really treats his co-stars and crew badly because he is always trying this method acting, which resulted in these hilarious headlines for Morbius, this film that has been widely ridiculed on social media for generally being seen as terrible. I haven't seen it and I think it looks dumb in general, but I don't know what the box office is. Maybe it's being like a wild success. People like Venom and that was absolute trash and Sony actually made a profit on that. Remember, it's Sony, not the MCU doing this. So first we're going to talk about his method acting and how it both does not get the results of method actors like Christian Bale, for example, or Daniel Day-Lewis, and also just results in him being a pretty terrible person on set. So Elise Wanchill reporting, Jared Leto's latest method acting stunt made bathroom breaks on set pretty crappy. Jared Leto was so committed to playing a character with chronic pain that he likely became a chronic pain to crew members. Daniel Espinosa, the director of the actor's latest film Morbius, confirmed to Uproxx this week that Jared, who is totally capable of walking and notorious for being an unnecessarily over-the-top method actor, was pushed to and from the bathroom in a wheelchair every time he needed to relieve himself. Jared plays Morbius, the title character in the latest, it says MCU offering, but it's actually a Sony film, who essentially turns himself into a vampire when he finds a cure for a rare blood condition that renders him disabled due to chronic pain. So Uproxx Mike Ryan said to the filmmaker, I heard a story about filming and I wanted to see if this is true. Someone told me that Jared Leto was so committed to playing Michael Morbius that even when he had to go to the bathroom, he would use his crutches and slowly limp to get to the bathroom, but it was taking so long between for pee breaks that a deal was made with him to get him in a wheelchair so someone could wheel him there quicker, and he agreed. Is that true? Yes, said Daniel, explaining that Jared felt he needed to mimic and fully embody his character. Hey man, it's the people's processes, the director later added, defending Jared's behaviour. I think it's really mysterious what they do, Daniel said of actors embodying their roles. I think that all of them have these traits. If you want a completely normal person that does only things that you understand, then you're in the wrong business, because what's different is what makes them tick. Jared has a reputation for taking method acting to an uncomfortable extreme. He sent his Suicide Squad co-stars some truly bizarre gifts, including a live rat and a video of a dead hog, while living authentically as the Joker. Just another article from E elaborating on this further. Actor Adam Beach, who stars in the upcoming superhero flick, spoke to E about the Joker's gift giving at the premiere of Joe Dirt 2 Beautiful Loser. He sent Margot Robbie a nice love letter with a black box with a rat in it, a live rat. It was beautiful. He then sent bullets to Will Smith with a letter. The gifts didn't stop there. Apparently the cast also received a video and a dead hog. Basically what he said was, guys, I can't be there, but I want you to know I'm doing my work as hard as you guys. The video he showed us in character, it blew our minds, and we realized that day this is real. So co-star Ike Barinholtz said all the actors were rehearsing and his character is in love with Margot Robbie. She's Harley Quinn. So we're rehearsing and this actor who plays the Joker's kind of lieutenant walks in and he goes, present for Miss Quinn, hands her a box, she opens the box and a live giant black rat pops out and we're like, what is going on? That's crazy. Like 20 minutes later, we're still rehearsing and the actor comes back in and goes, this is for the squad from Mr. J, and he throws a pig on the table, a dead pig, and as he puts the pig on the table, all these bullets start to come out of it. So as bizarre as this is, Jared Leto actually has a long history of this. In an article that I'll refer to a bit later by Gorka, It's Time for a Jared Leto Reckoning, they say stories of his extreme behaviour on set have circulated for years. In 1997, director Steve James, who worked with Leto on the biopic Prefontaine, told the now defunct Details magazine, for a profile that can only be found on fan blogs now, that his star tended to get wrapped up in his role to the point of being non-communicative. To prepare for Requiem for a Dream, Leto slept on the streets of New York, abstained from sex for 2 months, and lost almost 30 pounds to play Harry Goldfarb. 7 years later, he got gout from gaining almost 70 pounds to play John Lennon's assassin Mark David Chapman in Chapter 27. While filming Dallas Buyers Club, a movie for which he would eventually win an Oscar, his co-stars said that they had never truly met Leto since he was always in character as Rayon, a trans woman. When asked how he summoned his inner trans person to play Rayon, a performance that was lauded for its beauty and delicacy in the portrayal of a trans person, Leto told the Daily Beast, "It's inside of all of us, our inner trans. It's all about identity. All of us in our lives ask ourselves who we really are." It just makes an interesting point about his performances. The thing about Jared Leto's latest projects is that despite all of the, some would say, exhausting off-screen effort he puts into them, he is rarely the best performance. Denzel Washington outshines him in The Little Things, House of Gucci is the Lady Gaga show, Anne Hathaway is delivering a genuinely interesting performance on an otherwise confused We Crash, and Matt Smith is the only person in Morbius who seems to understand what the tone of the movie should be. In comparison to his co-stars, Leto often comes off as trying incredibly hard to deliver a capital P performance. Nothing is ever natural for him, even when he's playing a real person. Despite all the physical transformation he puts into his work, he never is quite able to do the job often being asked of him to act like a human being. So Jared Leto clearly takes method acting to an unnecessarily, I guess, heightened level, mainly because he doesn't stop interacting with his co-stars as his character when filming's done. Like, if you read a lot of stuff about method actors, whether that's like Daniel Day-Lewis in Gangs of New York, or if it's Christian Bale doing other things, what the common theme is that they're normally in this character when they come to work and interact with all these people. And yes, they will be this character sometimes when there isn't shooting, but you can understand this process a bit more because it's like, well, you want to stay in the mindset to deliver this great performance. And of course, like, some of the greatest performances in modern cinema with Daniel Day-Lewis have been done through method acting. But at the same time, if you aren't delivering those performances and you're starring in pretty trash films like Morbius and The Suicide Squad, where you're playing like the worst version ever of the Joker, is it really justified to not only do method acting for these roles, but also do method acting to the point where you're still interacting with all your co-stars as these often unhinged characters? And in the case of Morbius, it's just completely selfish, right? Do you really need to limp around when you're playing some crazy vampire superhero who can fly and, I don't know, turn into bats or something? Again, it just seems like this guy is a complete narcissist in the way that he often commits to the acting roles, and he doesn't really care how that affects anyone else. Can you imagine if you were the guy in the crew who had to wheel Jared Leto to the bathroom all the time because apparently he's method acting and he cannot walk properly, not even to go to the bathroom? All I will say is I hope Jared Leto stayed off the whiskey and water on set so this wasn't a common occurrence and some poor crew member didn't have to do something like this. But now, speaking of the narcissism angle of all this stuff, obviously Jared Leto is not just a super successful actor who gets to work with some of the most talented people in the industry and stars or is featured in a lot of great movies from great directors. Like I said, Blade Runner 2049, my favourite movie, Jared Leto is in that. Fight Club, American Psycho, absolutely iconic, Jared Leto is in that as well. But 30 Seconds to Mars is what I first knew him from because of my friend, like I said earlier. Now, I was watching a video by Cruel World Happy Mind in which she spoke about Jared Leto's cult. So I'm going to show you some clips that she put in her video and maybe a bit of her analysis because it is a really good video. I'm going to link it in the description. But in 2020, loads of articles started running that Jared Leto is running a cult and he was wearing like all white on this, island, and he looked like Joseph Seed from Far Cry 5, and the band were really playing into this culty thing. So an article by Distractify, before I show you some footage. Jared Leto has his own Firefest-like cult, no, we are not joking, April 2020. Back in 2019, it was reported that Jared Leto started a real cult, and he actually invites fans to join him on a very isolated island, Mars Island, where he walks around in a flowery white dress, his long brown hair parted down the middle. Jared has admitted himself that it's a cult, saying, yes, this is a cult on Mars Island. On his band's 30 Seconds to Mars Twitter page, Jared apparently bought or rented part of the private island where his followers congregate. And you can see some pictures of the island there. Here's the official description of Mars Island. Mars Island is a 3-night, all-inclusive festival experience. Relax and restore with yoga amongst the trees. Take a dip in the pool, catch a midnight screening, or gaze at the stars and catch 2 intimate performances with 30 Seconds to Mars. Mars Island is an experience like no other. The starter package starts at $995, which doesn't include travel, and goes up to $6,499. If you go with this package, you get an exclusive VIP experience with Jared himself. The event is located in Croatia. The cult's followers are referred to as Echelon. In the promotional video, we learn that Echelon is belief, hope, emotions, understanding, music support, world unification, love, shouts, communication, freedom, happiness, tears, dreams. It is the family. The video shows devoted fans with actual Echelon tattoos. Members of the Echelon also use the uniting hashtag "You Wouldn't Understand," which is kind of a motto that Jared started and uses himself. Was Jared's cult related to the fact that the actor didn't know that the world was in the middle of the pandemic until he returned from his 12-day retreat? Was he on cult-related duties? On March 16th, he tweeted, wow, 12 days ago, I began a silent meditation in the desert. We were totally isolated, no phone, no communication. We had no idea what was happening outside the facility. Walked out yesterday into a very different world, one that's been changed forever. Mind-blowing to say the least. I'm getting messages from my friends and family all around the globe and catching up what's happening. The origins of this is way back in 2013. Jared told the New York Times that his cult was a joke, a response to journalists saying you have such a cult following, but it seems like Jared and his band took the label very, very seriously. Since 2015, they've held summer camps. In all seriousness, Jared's cult may just be a Fire Fest-like marketing tool for his band 30 Seconds to Mars. Just because it mentioned Fire Festival a lot in that article, it never ceases to amaze me how very, very rich people and often very, very successful people still need to do stuff like this, so like nickel and dime people out of their money to offer these experiences. Now, the thing with this island cult thing, and I'm going to play you some footage in a second, I can only put it down to immense narcissism and Jared Leto liking having his fans in this isolated place to essentially worship him, rather than him really needing some quick bucks and a quick way to milk his fan base. Because I can't imagine this guy isn't also wildly rich, considering he actually is in a lot of movies and has just starred in a Marvel movie. Can't imagine he's doing this for cash. But it's going to take a more sinister tone when we start discussing the allegations against him. Now, Cruel World Happy Mind actually did post some footage of what this event was like. So I'm going to play some for you now.
It feels like Jared Leto was aware of how dedicated his fans were to the band and decided to further profit off of that by creating a cult-like experience. The hashtag "You Wouldn't Understand" causes fans to separate themselves and create this us versus them mentality. So anytime their actions or what they're doing is questioned, they can just say, well, you don't understand, and go further and further down the hole of devotion. The band once even held a competition where the prize was sleeping at night in Jared Leto's bed with him. Like, that's so creepy.
Yeah!
That wasn't funny. He just put on a Joker voice. He was like, haha, look at me. Joker voice. I was that guy. And everyone just laughed as if it was the funniest thing.
Hi. Yeah. It's good to see you. Yeah.
And her team of incredible Mexicans as well that come. Let me tell you something. But both camp and California wouldn't be very much without Mexicans. That is for sure. 100%. We owe Mexico a great deal.
The drumming circle.
Again, it seems really, really weird, you know, combined with all the method acting stuff and then hosting these people on an island. Seems like a guy who absolutely craves attention and craves the the spotlight, which he has pretty much every single day of his life at the moment, and a guy who clearly loves having a lot of fanatical fans, because of course that will make you very wealthy and successful, but again plays into my belief that this guy is just like a massive egomaniac narcissist who does this mainly for his own ego and maybe the ability to possibly hook up with fans. But Jared Leto, even though he doesn't look it, is 50 years old and he's been around for a long time, meaning there's been lots of coverage of him acting very badly for a long time. So there's two articles I want to read quickly from 2006 and 2005. One of them was Jared Leto actually attacking Elijah Wood. Why would you even want to do that? He seems like one of the nicest guys in Hollywood. So when Jared Leto attacks Elijah Wood, Brooklyn vegan staff published October 31st, 2006. He comes over to Elijah's table. I'm like, oh my God, they're totes gonna make out. Jared puts his arm on the Hobbit's back and starts whispering stuff in his ear and occasionally pulling back to look him in the face. Jared then walks away and Elijah turns to his date for the evening, friends, and says something. Well, something about this must have annoyed Jared because he comes running back to the table, grabs Elijah Wood by the neck and starts screaming at him. All I could catch was Leto screaming at him. He then shoves Elijah Wood and storms off. Bodyguards come up and Elijah Wood assures everyone he's fine. Now, later it was actually speculated that the reason Jared Leto did this is because Elijah Wood said 30 Seconds to Mars was an awful band. Obviously, Elijah Wood was a massive actor coming off Lord of the Rings, so maybe Jared Leto, in my belief, so fragile, this really annoyed him to prompt him to do this. Now, getting into the more serious side of this video, people have seen for a long time there have been lots of allegations against Jared Leto and just general sentiment online that this guy often preys on younger fans. So getting into a New York Post article by Chris Wilson, September 12, 2005. Jared Leto likes him young. The 33-year-old Requiem for a Dream actor, last seen squiring Ashley Olsen and Lindsay Lohan around town, has been aggressively pursuing many of the teen models shacked up at the Maritime Hotel. He's been approaching all the girls and inviting them to his shows, Snickers the Sauce. Girls from IMG, Elite, Next, and Women are staying there, and Jared has been hitting on all of them. He's a serial texter. He is constantly texting these 16 and 17-year-old girls. It's really creepy. But Leto's digit collecting prowess came up short with 17-year-old elite newcomer Nadia Pachenko last week. The Ukrainian stunner declined to give up her number because she already had a boyfriend, and the fact that a frowning chaperone was standing right behind her probably didn't help Leto's case. So another article by Evangeline Van Houten. Another Cosby, a reminder that several women have accused Jared Leto. When you begin to read stories of encounters with Leto from groupies of his band 30 Seconds to Mars, an alarming pattern emerges. It seems about half the stories state or imply that some sort of sexual encounter was non-consensual on the woman or girl's part. I'll give some examples below, but first I'm putting out, just to clarify, this is all based on the victim's word. He's never been taken to court over any of this, but there are lots of women saying similar things and it adds up to a disturbing picture. So again, something to remember that Jared Leto hasn't actually been taken to court, but you'll see a lot of social media posts about this stuff. So a post on a groupie forum collects stories about encounters with Leto and his bandmates. Here are some of the more alarming ones. I lost all respect for Jared Leto after I met too many teenage girls who've been approached by him in order to sleep with them. He's just another rock star who lets his ego get to his head so he can take advantage of younger women. He even hit on my 15-year-old best friend. He's no better than Roman Polanski in my eyes. From a long post by a woman who began having sex with Leto when she was 17, I can say Jared was my first for many experiences and I wholeheartedly regret it nowadays. He was very pushy into coercing me to quite rough and forceful. Once he was unnecessarily rough, and when I told him it hurt, he didn't stop. He never did anything slowly or for my pleasure, and no, he never asked me if I was ever okay or comfortable with anything he wanted to do, simply because he's not the person to care. It will always hurt whenever I see Jared Leto on TV. I just see the man who took advantage of my innocence. So a Mamma Mia article saying, Leto has not responded to any allegations publicly, which is unsurprising because as far as we are aware, none have moved beyond the internet. So then another article by the Daily Beast points out that Dylan Sprouse tweeted at Jared Leto in 2018, "Yo, Jared Leto, now that you've slid into the DMs of every female model aged 18 to 25, what would you say your success rate is?" Then James Gunn, the director of Guardians of the Galaxy, wrote this, which is now deleted. He starts at 18 on the internet. Leto's emo band, 30 Seconds to Mars, also reportedly held a contest in which 5 winners would sleep in Leto's bed. The actor slash frontman once told Entertainment Tonight that he's found fans asleep in his bed. Like the articles have said, like I said, there is no public testimony in a courtroom or someone who's spoken to a journalist and gone on the record, like officially, to say these things about Jared Leto, but you see a lot of women posting this on social media. So that aside, just speculating about like general rock star culture, it's been well known throughout the history of rock and roll and bands that they often do prey on younger fans. Apparently the Beatles, David Bowie, groups like this have often been accused of doing this stuff, the Rolling Stones, and it seemed to be quite common back in the 60s and 70s. And I'm sure just like how Mad Men style office culture, even in places like Fox News, didn't really end until the 2010s, I'm sure there is still this massive undercurrent in bands and rock stars and things like that even today. So even though, again, these aren't confirmed or anything, it does play into like a general trend with a lot of these girls being taken advantage of. And obviously when you have these allegations mixed in with tangible facts of Jared Leto being a pretty extreme method actor and really playing into this cult thing with his fans and saying like he's woken up with fans in his bed and stuff, it doesn't paint him in a very, very good light. And again, even with that stuff aside, he just generally seems like a very, very sensitive guy, a guy who craves the limelight, a guy who is an egomaniac, but apparently is very, very sensitive. There were reports, which he denied, of course, that he was extremely mad about Joaquin Phoenix's performance as the Joker and essentially being binned as a version of that character. Of course, the Elijah Wood thing is really, really telling if it's the true motivation for him attacking him, because it just exposes Jared Leto as this egomaniac. Now, in conclusion, like, a lot of people are waking up to these allegations, or at the very least, not liking how he acts in public or how he treats his co-workers. So it feels like maybe if there is anything to these allegations, that if someone's going to move forward with them, it will happen in the next couple years. But even just based on the things that are concrete, it's clear Jared Leto is broadly not a good guy, but is a guy who has a massive, massive fan base, mainly in music. And while like a lot of people respect him as an actor, I'm sure a lot of directors even want to work with him, it just seems like his method acting for certain parts is just really, really not tolerable, especially for the cast and crew of Morbius. And at the end of the day, this method acting is done, and it's not really worth it in the end because it doesn't elevate the performance. A lot of people do not praise his performances in these movies. It just serves as a hindrance. And who knows if he can actually act without being a method actor. So Jared Leto is cancelled. A good way to start Kavernacle 2.0 2022 or something. Return to England, return to the old set, and return for a good old-fashioned celebrity cancelling. Now let me know what you guys think of the video down in the description. Are there any other things you've heard about Jared Leto? Who should I cancel next? Did you like Morbius? Follow me on social media at the Kavernacle. Consider becoming a patron. Check out our community on my subreddit. And if you made it this far, thank you for watching.